Welcome to the Everything Actioncast, the official podcast of everythingaction.com. Hello and welcome to the Everything Actioncast, the podcast for the week of October 9th, 2023. I'm your host, Zach, and I'm actually solo for being part of this episode this week. Chris is actually at New York Comic-Con helping some vendor friends of ours and also running around and getting pictures of celebrities, whoever's there, and seeing all the sites. So you can check out our social media site, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, check all that stuff out for whatever Chris is posting up there. And he'll be here for the later half of the show. We have to record something earlier before he left for Comic-Con for our show and tell. So we'll talk about Saw X and Bats, the 1999 classic that we both watched, along with some other stuff that we checked out. But first, let's get into some news. I'll just do a quick run of some of the news stories that came out this week. And we'll kick things off with the trailer for The Iron Claw, which is a wrestling biopic from A24. It's coming out just in time for Christmas on December 22nd of this year. And this is a biopic about the Von Erichs, who were a wrestling dynasty. They were a family of wrestlers going all the way back to the 60s with the patriarch of the family, Fritz Von Erich, who's going to be played by Hulk McCallany in the movie. And he founded a wrestling federation called World Class Championship Wrestling, and then kind of had his sons basically from like birth trained to be wrestlers, and was very adamant that wrestling was an important part of their lives. And it was very intense, of course, at least according to the movie, and from what I've seen from like Dark Side of the Ring. Because they were a successful wrestling family, but they're also plagued by a lot of personal drama and tragedy and personal demons that I'm sure the movie's going to get into. And Zac Efron is playing Keith Von Erich, who was actually the only surviving brother of this family. All the other brothers, died very young or had tragic accidents or did not make it to the present day. Jeremy Allen White is actually playing Kerry Von Erich, who's one of the brothers, and then Harris Dickinson, Stanley Simmons are playing other brothers. Maura Tierney is playing the Von Erich matriarch Doris, and then Lily James is playing Kevin's wife Pamela. And then just going to be some kind of legendary wrestlers portrayed by other actors. So Aaron Dean Eisenberg is playing Ric Flair, because Ric Flair was in the same federation that the Von Erichs were in before everyone kind of went over to the WWE/F. And Casey Lewis Sereno is playing Bruiser Brody, who's also another very famous but tragic wrestling figure. He had his own kind of sad Dark Side of the Ring end to his career in life. But I mean, it definitely looks like if you're a fan of like The Wrestler during a wrestling movie, like this seems like it's gonna be right in that kind of wheelhouse. Although this one's based on true events, so kind of even like more tragic, but also hopefully interesting as well. The Dark Side of the Ring episode was actually super sad, but also interesting, and like all the other Dark Side of the Ring episodes basically. But it's directed by Sean Durkin, who directed Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, and The Nest. So if you saw either of those two movies, those are also some pretty dark, not crowd pleasing movies. But then it also seems like this could be maybe an Oscar contender. I don't know, Zac Efron maybe could get like an Oscar nomination for this. We'll have to see. I think Hulk McCallany definitely seems like, from what we've seen in the trailer, that seems like a potential like Best Supporting Actor nomination. But you can check that out in December 22nd if you're a wrestling fan or just a fan of just kind of like interesting biopics, interesting stories. And then other news, we got some news about Daredevil Born Again. Not good news. Apparently, we're still got the actor strike is going on. The writer strike is officially 100% resolved, but the actor strike is going on. But Disney has let the head writers that were writing the series, they let them go, and they also let go the other directors who have not, like, they were signed on to direct episodes that haven't been shot yet, but they're looking for a whole new directing team. They're looking for a whole new like head writing team. Apparently they're like gonna really change the creative direction of the show. Like, so apparently whatever was going on with Daredevil Born Again, Disney was not a fan of it, and they are basically kind of revamping the whole show. Like some elements are going to stay from like this current iteration, but it's going to be really like revamped, reworked, and turned into like kind of a different show than what it was originally. So we'll have to see what that means. I believe Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, everyone's kind of back. At least those two are back. And it's going to be even probably more delayed than I think it was supposed to come on next year sometime. But who knows now if they can't get the show shot or written and they're totally revamping it. I mean, this could be 2 or 3 years from now. But yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on things to see what comes out from that. Because of all the upcoming Marvel shows, I think that's one that I know Chris and I are, and like a lot of people are anticipating is like a big Marvel show, especially coming off the Netflix show, and this is kind of like the continuation of that. And then Daredevil return, all the characters returning for like Hawkeye and She-Hulk and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely gonna keep an eye on that, see how that develops. And then we also got some news about Star Trek Prodigy, which got canceled and then completely removed from Paramount Plus. It's got a new home. It's going to be on Netflix. Netflix has picked up the rights to the first season, and they're going to air the second season, which is actually like in production, ready to kind of on the way to being ready to go when Paramount canceled them. And they were basically if Netflix didn't pick them up, like those episodes were never going to air, even though they were like. Kind of, I think they were either done or like close to being done. But yeah, the second season will air sometime next year on Netflix. The first season is going to be on Netflix later this year. And yeah, this is the third place that Prodigy has aired. It was a Nickelodeon show to start with, and then went to Paramount Plus, and now it is Netflix. And all the other Star Trek shows are still on Paramount Plus, and there's 2 more upcoming shows. But yeah, Strange New Worlds, Discovery. Lower Decks, all that stuff is still on Paramount Plus. They just, for whatever reason, like Prodigy did not meet their ratings or viewership requirements or cost analysis, whatever they were doing to like save costs for the streaming service. But if you're a fan of Prodigy, it's going to be back soon on Netflix. And then speaking of Netflix, they were part of the huge resurgence of Suits this year. It was Netflix and Peacock both have the full run of Suits, and obviously I think we talked about it a couple of episodes ago, but like absolutely just decimating viewership ratings and records. Millions upon millions upon millions of views for every episode for like this whole past summer. And apparently all that new attention has kind of revitalized interest in the show, obviously, and there's going to be some sort of new show in the Suits universe. Aaron Korsh, who created the show, is apparently talking to NBC and developing some sort of spin-off or offshoot or side show. And not really clear if it's going to be based on any of the characters from the main show, or if it's going to be like in the same universe but like a new setup. But yeah, apparently they're talking about it, and it could maybe be streaming. I don't know if it'd be like a Peacock show, or if they would sell it to someone else, or it actually would air like NBC or maybe back on USA. Although USA is like basically not really, it's totally different than what it was when Suits was airing. Like that was the era when they had like Royal Pains and Burn Notice and whatever else. Like what was that? The other show was like it was like a paper Parabow show. I think it was like Covert Affairs. they're all like very punny shows, and they're like very like super pulpy and light and good summer watching. But yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Suits, or if you're a new fan of Suits, you can look forward to some sort of new entry in that universe soon. And then, speaking of TV rights, the rights to Halloween, the Halloween franchise, has been bought by Miramax. So they bought the TV rights to Halloween from Tronkus International Films, who apparently owns the rights to the entire Halloween franchise. And they signed a deal that is going to let them make TV shows, potentially also movies. I think Miramax was a part of the whatever the Blumhouse deal was that got like the David Gordon Green trilogy made. So they could kind of like work that into like maybe like making new movies and also TV shows. And they want to make some sort of cinematic universe apparently, which is still a buzzword that people are talking about, even though most of them have failed horribly. And yeah, no word on what the show would be. If it would be like a total reboot of like the franchise, and it would be like an extended version of the original movie, or some sort of like prequel, or who knows. I personally think like the most interesting thing would be if they actually like went back to what the original idea for like Halloween 3 was, where it was going to be just like an anthology based on like Halloween the holiday, and not Michael Myers particularly, because that's like I feel like we've done everything we possibly could do with Michael Myers. Like, he was like a Celtic cult symbol. He was Laurie's brother. He was an unkillable zombie. Well, I guess he never became like a killable zombie, but almost at that point. And he's been rebooted and reworked, and I think we've seen almost everything we could possibly see from Michael. And so if they were going to do like some sort of Halloween series, like maybe like an episode or two, they're like a Michael Myers related thing, and then explore new areas. Like, cause the original idea for the series was that you had the first two, and then you had Season of the Witch, and Season of the Witch was supposed to be kind of the new take, which was like, it wasn't necessarily going to be a Michael Myers movie every time. It was going to be some sort of new horror movie just based around the concept of Halloween, the holiday, or set around that time. And then everyone, like, the audience at the time kind of like, revolted because they wanted Michael Myers back. So they, Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers and all that stuff. And then, where we are now with the new trilogy and reboots and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely think some sort of anthology show would be a more interesting spin than just like an extended, like, 6-hour long Halloween movie with Michael Myers. Like, they're already like very, simple plots, especially the first movie. Like, I don't know how you would like make a 6-hour long movie with Michael Myers just like stalking people and killing people. So who knows? We'll have to see how this develops, and we'll keep an eye on it and see if whatever new details comes from this. But yeah, Halloween coming to your TV or your streaming service of choice in the near future, or wherever it lands. And then last bit of news, which actually this news is right out of Comic-Con. Warner Brothers is teaming up with Dynamite Comics, and they're actually going to be producing a line of comic books based on a lot of Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers properties. So we're going to be getting comics, and at least in this first wave, based on Thundercats, Flintstones, Powerpuff Girls, Space Ghost, Johnny Quest, Wizard of Oz, and We Bare Bears. And then potentially more on the way. I guess depends on like maybe if these do well, we'll get other comics based on other franchises. The one they really gave details for is the Thundercats comic. It's going to be written by Declan Shalvey. And it's going to be art by Drew Moss. So Shelby worked on the Alien comic, and also Old Dog and Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan. Drew Moss worked on the Gargoyles comic. He also worked on Vampirella, Red Sonja, and Copperhead. And the Thundercats comic is actually going to be an origin, or like a prequel to the show. It's going to be set on Third Earth, which is where the Thundercats came from before they ended up on... actually, that's where they ended up after they escaped like their original home. But it's going to dive into like kind of like the early days of Third Earth, and untold histories, new characters, new like kind of like exploring more of like the mythology of Third Earth and Thundercats and all that stuff. But still going to feature Lion-O and Cheetar and all the rest of the group. So that's coming in February next year. So you can look, if you're a Thundercats fan, you can look forward to that next year. And I don't think they said any other sort of date with the other books, but apparently, yeah, they're going to be kind of rolling those out probably like all through next year at your comic book store locally, or on whatever app you're using. But yeah, just another kind of like way to like try to, for Warner Bros. Discovery, trying to make get to bring out some money from their franchises and their series. along with selling them to other streaming services and other schemes they've been doing recently. But it's Dynamite does some really solid comic book work, so hopefully these books will all be interesting and cool.
All right, so let's get into some show and tell. And Chris, you and I actually watched a couple things together in the same space because you came up to my neck of the woods for Retro Game Con this past weekend.
Heck yeah, I did.
Yeah, so we got played some retro games. We had our panel, which was awesome at the convention, but we also saw some movies. So we actually went out to the theater and saw X.
Yeah, X gonna give it to you.
The 10th Saw movie, obviously based on the title, and the weird interquel because it takes place between Saw and Saw 2. And definitely a huge step up from the last couple Saw movies. Way better than Jigsaw, way better than Spiral. Definitely like a return to form for the Saw franchise. Like kind of back to basics, like simpler traps. Tobin Bell's back, Shawnee Smith's back. Like,
and one room Saw movie. No one really travels anywhere. It's sort of like each section of this warehouse is a gimmick.
Yeah, which I enjoyed that because that you got to see like the people like everyone who's like trapped in the game kind of like got to see like everyone else play the games that they were trapped in and be like trying to like yell advice or like try to like like just get like horrified about what's gonna happen to them. Instead of like because definitely some of the later ones got into like these very elaborate, but it was one person like stumbled into a room and then they're like in a blender or whatever Rube Goldberg machine it was. And this one Saw X is definitely more effective because simpler traps, but still like very like visceral, especially like some of them. Like I think you and I were talking about the one that's really stood out was like someone has to saw their own leg off with like one of those like wire saws.
That one made me wince just because it goes on for so long. It goes on for so long and it's very gruesome.
And just the fact like she gets like she's sawing and she goes faster and faster and faster as it goes on, and it's like, and then like, but then that's I mean like the end of it because you have to Jigsaw makes her like suck out bone marrow, and you have to get a certain amount of bone marrow on the scale, and then that's how you stop like the neck blade is gonna come at like there's like a wire saw blade that's gonna come at your neck if you don't win the game.
If you don't trigger the scale, tip it. A lot of these have to do with always filling something up or triggering like a collection limit.
I feel like that's always been kind of a Saw staple. Is Jigsaw always makes them
that's a classic one because that one is really you versus the time. There's no other external human trying to interfere. It's you. Can you do this on your own?
Like that one, like the one was it Saw 4 or 5 where it was you had to drain him out, you had to drain fill up the thing with like blood, but then it was the twist was you all should have came together because then you would have
it was less blood.
Yeah, you all could have like donated 1 liter of blood. Now like 2 you have to donate like half your blood in your body.
And then
the one with like there was also the one I think it was like 3, 4 or 5. It was like the cold open one where they had like saw like a chunk of their like arm off, like you need to donate like a certain amount of flesh.
Well, that was the one where the woman cut off her arm and it beat the other guy who couldn't do enough, and a trap smashed on his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to one up each other. See, like that is crazy because that's one where it's like, can you honestly? It's like now you're forcing this person to do something that has consequences to another person that half the time they have no relation to.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was hilarious, I think, was Saw 7 or 8. Was the one where it was the two guys realizing they're with the same girl.
Yeah, the like back and forth saw, and then they were like, "Oh, hey, bro, we can like let's like she's the one that got us in this situation. Let's like let's saw her in half." And they were like in the middle of like a public park.
Yep.
It's like like a curtain drop that's just like, here's my performance art piece.
And
That was even
that's another thing. Yeah.
that wasn't even John. That was like Hoffman at that point though. It was like Hoffman was like doing this like weird street art.
Yeah. I mean, those guys were just legit weren't criminals.
Yeah.
That was just something he just decided to do.
Well, Hoffman doesn't have the moral, like the kind of moral code that John has. Hoffman's just a dick.
That's true. I feel like the Hoffman traps are like always just random people, and they have weird shit going on. Anyway, but we get too far. This one though,
I thought
this one they like did him dirty. Like I get why John Kramer was just like, oh hell no, but he was way too prepared to do what he did in this movie.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like this one is definitely, of all the Saw movies, this one definitely is the one that leads most to making like John and also Amanda like anti-heroes, because they're basically like fully in the right, because they like the people that are like putting in the games are horrible. And I especially love like the main like was she like Swedish or something, like the main doctor who's like
Yeah.
is like the head of this scam that, because John finds out about this like miracle cure for his cancer, but then turns out to be a scam, and they're basically just trying to steal money from people. But then I love the fact that by the end of the Saw X, that she's like the most evil person in the entire Saw franchise. They're just like willing to like throw a kid into like a trap and like just like yeah, it makes John and Man just be like, oh yeah, they're reasonable. Like this woman's a crazy lunatic.
Yeah, Amanda, she shows up just prepared to do this, which is fine. I figure, but it makes more sense where he called in his other apprentices to come help.
I think we were trying to figure out like what the time frame was for this, because John goes to Mexico and then realizes it's a scam, and then it seems like within like a couple days he's gotten Amanda there, and they've rigged up this entire like warehouse with traps, and they've captured everybody.
And he's somehow found a lot. I get your. I mean, not to spoil much, but there are some things where like, where did he get this?
Yeah.
Where did he get all these supplies? I get metal. I get electronics. You can buy that in places.
And there was some like medical equipment left in that like warehouse, I guess, because that's where they did like the surgery, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was abandoned.
Totally makes sense for some of them.
But yeah, but then some of them, yeah, it's just like, where did Amanda just drive a truck down full of like equipment? Because they're doing it in Mexico, so she had to drive from wherever they're normally like. Are they in like Los Angeles, or like, I don't think we ever know like where Jigsaw is like operating out of. Well, like the actual like the main movies, like I don't think we ever really know like where
it depends
John
on
operates
which
out
movie.
of.
It depends on which movie. I think the first movie is LA because you see palm trees.
Mm-hmm.
The second movie is supposed to be in the same city, but he captures a Boston cop.
Mm-hmm.
Third movie, it's somewhere. It looks like Oregon because it like is rainy all the time, or like Washington State maybe. Yeah, and then it's just like whatever. Like then I think it's back to LA again, just from the obvious aesthetics. But yeah, the story is
I said this was definitely Mexico because it has the yellow Mexico filter on it. So
either it's Mexico or the Middle East.
Yeah.
But overall, like how they structure it, how it gets to the point, is different from most Saw movies because it takes about like 40 minutes until Jigsaw decides to be Jigsaw again. Because it's just watch John Kramer go through
like
cancer treatment.
Cancer treatment, yeah. It's like a medical drama or like this like weird drama. Except for there's the one weird sequence where John is like in the hospital and he sees an orderly like thinking about stealing stuff, and then John instantly comes up with like this trap of like, I'm gonna have him like have to break his own fingers, but it's gonna suck his eyes out with shop vacs. So he just like he just instantly imagines that, but then the guy like puts stuff back away, and John's like, "Oh, okay, good job."
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah,
Because your eyes would have been
I was gonna
in a
suck your eyes
jar.
out with a vacuum cleaner. Which it's also funny that that's like the like poster trap, and it's like it's imaginary. It does exist.
That part did kind of like I didn't like that because I think in all the other movies, the whatever's featured on the cover is usually like there, and you see
Yeah.
it come to its glory.
It's like it's like either like the featured trap or like the cold open trap or some sort, but definitely featured in the movie. And I mean, the vacuum tubes are featured in the movie, but then yeah, it's just some sort of like it's a daydream imagination of like what John would have
Even
done
for
to
a
that guy.
daydream, even for a daydream, it should have been way more elaborate because it seemed really reasonable for a daydream. Like, I feel like for his daydream, he should dream about stuff that may or may not have been real, something crazy where it's like, I'll fill your eyeballs up with gold, or
What's
he will.
That's what we're talking about because like it was as far as like saw traps, that one seemed kind of not that bad. You just had I mean you had to break your own fingers with like this like dial, but I mean you're just breaking your fingers. It's not like you have to cut them off or cut your own arm off or like you're gonna have your head
Yeah, you
like
could
smashed
heal.
open. Yeah, you'll heal from that probably.
You can heal with surgery. You can walk away to some degree. Everyone else is like losing limbs. The woman who cut off her leg and had to feed it bone marrow, that woman is forever not. Even if she wins, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's terrible.
And then the other guy had to like cut cut a piece of his brain out and put it in like a like a tub of acid to like make an electrical charge.
Yeah, that one, it's like you're not going to heal from that. Even if you sort of learn your lesson, sort of, you're not
It
going to
was
remember that.
it was funny because John was like in his like his saw like rules instructions. He's just like, the brain is a miraculous thing. It can rewire itself. You'll be fine.
Don't trust the voice like that. What does John know? If he knew that, I think he would have done his own brain surgery.
That's what Carrie Elway's told him that. It's like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. If he cuts his own brain, it'll be fine. It's just a little piece of his brain.
Yeah, now I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see, like, are they gonna acknowledge him at least, or what? Make him finally. You know what they should have done? Brought him in and then say, like, hey, listen, you're gonna be my like spare. Like, regardless if anything's going on, like, just continue that legacy.
Oh, it's that like the Hoffman cameo,
Yeah, like, why instead of the Hoffman cameo?
or they both should have been in there.
Yeah, because do they all have to? I guess Hoffman never knew about Carrie Elways.
No, Carrie was like the like dark like the secret apprentice. Like if everything went wrong, like if Jill died and everything else happened, then Carrie was activated.
But he gets activated. Yeah, I don't know. I just had problems with like the story structure still. I mean, again, only because there's legit a good lore between everything, and then knowing what I know, never seen all of them, the like spiritual sequels, how dumb they get. But
yeah,
I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see this go back to basics.
Yeah, and if there's gonna be more Saw movies, like make it more like definitely more like this, and not the prequels and the sidequels. Like, I mean, I don't know where else you can jam movies in the Saw timeline, but I would definitely prefer like stuff like Saw X for the series.
I'm okay with Hoffman. I'm okay with him and Carrie Elways battling out as the true heir, and we just forget about the other guy. Let's just do that. Like, we can move on. We don't need John always.
Like Hoffman somehow escapes from like the bathroom because he
Yeah,
got locked
I
in
mean,
the
it's
bathroom.
escapable. It's escapable. He didn't get knocked out. I mean, he doesn't have to use the hacksaw.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like he's resourceful. He got out of reverse bear trap.
Barely, but yeah, he did. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully this is a kind of like the Saw franchise is back after this. after two of the worst, not just the worst entries in like the Saw franchise, but just two of the worst movies ever. like Jigsaw and Spiral were so bad. I think I put them both as like whatever year they came out, they were like my worst movie of the year for on the site. So, and you still have not seen Spiral, Chris. I mean,
I have not. I don't know. I just don't have any interest.
Yeah.
And it's like it has nothing to tie into what we even saw.
I feel like at some point you just need to watch it just to see how bad it is, and then you'll appreciate Saw X even more because that was the last one we saw before this one.
I think it's the last Saw movie. Like I'm trying to think, what was the last Saw movie I saw in theaters? I think the one where like Linkin Park was in it. No.
You see Jigsaw in theaters?
Nope.
Cause I've seen all the like. I saw Jigsaw, Spiral, and this one in theaters, so I've seen the last three in theaters.
No, I saw 2, I think, in theaters, and then I skipped a whole bunch because like I just never had a group to see that with, and then I saw the one with like the guys in like the lead singer of Linkin Park was like one of the lead singers of Linkin Park was in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was that 6 or 7? That might have been. That was definitely like one of the later ones.
It was way later, yeah.
That might have been, yeah. That might have been the final chapter because I think, yeah, because wasn't he trapped in a car and the car like flew into a wall or something?
I guess, I think so. So yeah, Saw 3D because for some reason they made it a 3D movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last one I saw in theaters.
But anyway, yeah, Saw X, fun. If you're a Saw fan, it's definitely back to what you know and love from the Saw franchise. And then we also watched the movie Bats, Chris, the 1999 movie. Because that was the most recent how it's made, so I think we wanted to like be refreshed on what they might talk about. But it's also just a ridiculous movie to watch. Lou Diamond Phillips, Dina Meyer, battling genetically engineered mats.
Yeah, it's funny because that movie has such a like all the hallmarks of here is a monster creature feature that like no one was prepared to get this out of control. Because you have a bad expert who's just like, hey, this is really bad news. They're like, no, you're not. Like, we're not gonna believe the bad expert about this. And it takes them a while for them to be like, oh shit, we really need to tell people about this.
Well, they do a full on like Jurassic Park. They like fly a helicopter out to where Dina Meyer is. It's like, yeah, come with us. There's bats.
Right, but it's like they never get another expert. It's just like one and done. Like she's the voice of reason, right? You find her and she's just legit. Hey, this is a problem, and they're like, you're wrong.
Well, is it? I guess Bob Gunton is also a bat expert. Like he's a bat scientist or something. But then he's like crazy. Like he turns out to be like the human villain of the movie.
True, but he's like crazy. It's so his turn to being nuts is so weird.
His plan, I have no idea what the hell his plan was, because he somehow is like he has like a lure that he can use like lure the bats to wherever he wants, but then he thinks that he can control them, and then he is gonna use them as a weapon to like just attack people, or like he designed them to be a weapon. Like I don't know if they're gonna planning on just dropping them into like a country, just be like, yeah, go bats, kill all the terrorists. Like we're gonna drop you in like the Middle East and just have you like fly around and murder people. It's like Vincent D'Onofrio's plan for like velociraptors. It's like we're gonna use them as a weapon. I can control them. Like
yeah, but that guy wasn't a scientist. That guy was legit a I guess mercenary guy. Like paramilitary leader. This guy was a scientist that he was doing everything possibly wrong. Even the bats that saw him in the streets were giving him death stares, and he didn't have a reaction that normal people would have. He wasn't just like, don't worry, my friends. Like, if he gave that kind of wink and nod to the bats, we're like, uh-oh, we should watch out for him. Up until that point in the movie, he seems like he's a regular part of the crew.
Well, he seems slimy. Like he's very slimy, but he just seems like he's like a normal like slimy like government like official,
Yeah.
just like try to cover things up. But then there's like the turn where he's like revealed to be like an actual like supervillain trying to like use bats to like take over the world or whatever his plan is. It's like, I can control them. I'm the Batman. Like, and then also the thing about this movie too that I like was just I think definitely takes it down a couple notches is the bat, like there's like bat vision, and it's so like horrific to look, like just the way it's shot is just so uncomfortable to look at. Like I don't know if it's trying to be like late 90s music video style or something, but it's so shaky and blurry and like it's like physically hard to look at.
Yeah.
Like,
It's artistic use is like a music video in the 90s, which is
Yeah, that's
not
what I'm
the
saying.
appropriate.
Yeah, it's trying to have like that 90s, like that late 90s like MTV like music video style, but it's just so like you have to look away because your eyes hurt from looking at it. And it's constant in the movie, just like constantly like flipping like bat vision. But there's some fun like creature stuff. There's some fun kills. Like the scene where like they attack the town and like the entire town is like getting killed by bats is like great.
Yeah. Having the bats walk around and fly around and just terrorize the group is pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. They're like swarming into like Dina Meyer and Leonard Phillips are in like a police truck, like a SUV, and then the bats are like climbing in. They're like figuring out a way to like get inside. Like they're climbing through like the air conditioning and like the exhaust pipes and stuff to getting in.
So there are things the movie sort of hints at, that there was an original group of bats that were smart and like 3 times as big as a normal bat.
I think from what I've read in like Wikipedia and some other places is that there's like just like there's like two like giant like genetically the two like bats they modified to be like intelligent and aggressive and all the other like genetics they did to it. So like those two escaped, and then all the other bats are kind of normal bats, but then now they're infected by like whatever like disease these like giant bats have, and then that makes them
But
also aggressive.
that disease made them smart.
I don't know if it made the normal bats smarter, but definitely made the normal bats like more aggressive. And then there's like the two like giant bats that are like the main bats. Although they don't really get into like, it's hard to like distinguish between like the giant bats and the normal bats because they all kind of like swarm together. It's not like
They're a bunch of blur.
like Arachnophobia had like like it had like the king spider and the queen spider, and it's like they're very like recognizable. Like the queen is like gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually these movies have like a like there's like an alpha or like a some sort of like the main leader of like whatever swarm it is, and they're like way bigger, way more aggressive, like sharper teeth and all that stuff. And I mean, sort of you can sort of tell like there's like different bat sizes in here, but like it's mostly just like this like giant CG swarm or like puppet swarm of bats. They all kind of just like blur together.
So, I mean, you only see the main bats is when somehow the Carols are just getting into a fist fight with them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which happened more than you think.
Or trying to shoot them with like pistols and revolvers, like single shot weapons, and not using like machine guns or shotguns or flamethrowers. Yeah.
The bats don't have projectiles. It's seriously just a flamethrower, just do like go in the cave, flamethrower.
And then the weird plan at the end where they're gonna drop a giant like refrigeration unit into like the mine that the bats are using as like their roost, and then because they want to put them all to sleep so they don't leave, but then they're just gonna blow up the entrance to the mine anyway, and the military is coming to like bomb the mine with like fighter jets. So it's like sort of like not clear like why they need to put them all. I guess they say a couple times like, oh, we can't let them scatter around. They're gonna scatter if we bomb them right now. We have to like make sure they all stay in one place. But it's such a convoluted plan for like they're just gonna like seal the mine anyway with explosives.
Well, they put them to sleep. They all died inside, so then you don't need to bomb it again. But I'd
Well,
bomb it after like a week. After enough time has passed, these bats have no way of getting out. Bomb it.
oh, I think we have to do like Leon from
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings and like a bunch of other things. His character is so weird. Like he's just like ridiculous comic relief. He's just constantly just like saying random things.
He's the team's heart, I guess.
But
He
yeah,
doesn't have any particular big skills
no.
besides comms.
He's sort of computers a little bit because he makes that like simulation of, oh, in a year the bats are gonna take over the entire world if we let them get out. But yeah, he always has some sort of, someone will be saying something, he always has like some sort of like comment about it. It's like some sort of like aside. And he hates bats, which is hilarious. But he's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, I mean, pretty kind of pretty fun movie. There's definitely some flaws in it, but like it's on it's on Tubi, it's on Prime Video. Like if you just like if you want to like if you're scrolling around, you want to see like a weird '90s creature feature. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's definitely dated. The only problem I see is I don't know. It doesn't exactly end in a very satisfying way. It just sort of like you're just because the comic should have been the school.
Mm-hmm.
The cave is sort of like this extended scene because they make such a big deal about the refrigerator unit. We barely get to see it. And then this like cave that is pretty cool to explore. Like we see more of it, but it's such a like they probably only have half of it finished.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks complex. Like the pool of shit that they have to swim through,
Oh god, yeah.
the like many entrances and exits that like seem like this cave would have. And that's an abandoned mine? Like it seemed operational for an abandoned mine.
Yeah, so sort of abandoned mine, and then the bats were using it as millions of bats were using it as their like nests. But yes, besides that, did you see anything else, Chris, besides those two?
Yeah. The other movie I saw during this week when I had some time was The Pale Blue Eyes, the Netflix horror movie that they released, I think, a year ago.
Is it a horror movie?
It's horror, mystery, thriller. Like it's a little bit of everything because there are scenes where there's like body horror, but they don't really focus in on it to a degree where you consider it like horror. It's more just like murder mystery, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it's more murder mystery. Though if you watch the trailer, it really does look like there might be some sort of horror. There's horror in the sense of like humanity. Like there's no supernatural thing. Though there is sort of like a classic occultist nature to it, which I didn't mind. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, so it's very like low rated just because the story is very flimsy at times, and then the third act is very like it ramps up to like a different degree than what you think it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And let alone there is a big twist that I'm not gonna spoil yet, but I think you need to see it to understand. I
Okay.
think novel wise it might have been fun because this is based on a book that I guess it did okay for this adaptation. Because during this time, Netflix, when they were buying up rights, they were just looking for things.
Mm-hmm.
But The Pale Blue Eyes is about a detective named Augustus Landor, who is a retired police like detective who is summoned to a military academy that uh, have like requested his services. And Landau is haunted by the loss of his daughter, who he has reported has gone missing for years. And then while he's there, he's noticing this trend of this murder victim. First, it's like one murder victim, then another, and he's trying to detect a pattern of what's going on. And because his methods are unconventional, like no one, like he suspects that someone in the academy, and the academy like can't trust him, like because they don't want to like kind of tell him too much or too little. So it's a cat and mouse game of him and the academy until he meets a young Edgar Allan Poe who's there, and he befriends Edgar, and then Edgar is able to kind of weasel his way in because Edgar has like a very charming and artistic take on life, and his poetry does win over some people. So he's able to use Edgar to get all this information and sort of make a good deductive guess. And I'm not saying he influences things, but it's one of those, maybe just how I was watching it. It's like the way he's conducting his manners in this time frame, because there's no science. It's just more like accusations. And then during this time, because there's no science, just besides like, oh, you were found next to this dead body, you must be guilty. Back then, it's you can get away with murder like a lot. So for him to kind of prove that it was someone and like all these kind of events are tied in together, it does take a lot of like, okay, I need to keep like witnesses alive. I need to find at least the clothes someone wore and sort of still has, like it sort of like is a very difficult thing to be a detective back then. But I mean, not when you're just like you accuse someone and it's just like, all right, you accuse them. And if they're not here to defend themselves, they must be guilty. So I get that. Like it does feel unsatisfied for one part, where everything sort of ties in together between Landor, Edgar Allan Poe's, like the friend, like the people he's met in the academy, and then the other area is that there's this like wealthy family who has served the military for a while, and the father is the head like doctor of the military academy, and he like he's lives a lavish life. He has two kids. One of them is in the academy. The other one is this sickly girl who has pale blue eyes. And that's where Edgar Allan Poe sort of like, oh, like he swears to protect her and then tries to stop this murder so that he can kind of be with her and stuff. But that kind of ruins Landor's like need, like he's trying to get him to do the police business because like again it's like that's it's like I wouldn't say his partner, but he's definitely like getting him, because the academy doesn't want, as much as they want to solve this mystery, they also suspect Edgar Allan Poe too. So it's like everyone wants, what I mean, it's all about the optics, and it's hard. So like I didn't mind it. Like as a detective story, this made sense. And it kind of reminds me of the movie what was that one? In Hell, the Johnny Depp one.
Oh yeah.
So it's sort of like that. Like it wants to be that, but it doesn't have enough strong killer or other characters. Like I feel like Christian Bale, he really is like if he's not in the scene, it's slow. But Henry Mendeling, who plays Edgar Allan Poe, he's pretty good. Like he does a good job. He's very not he's wormy. Like he's supposed to be this like like Edgar Allan Poe in real life was this guy who was like a drunk and he just sort of complained a lot. And you can see like that is beginning, but he's well versed. He understands life. He understands that like even if you do like the right thing, it can be the wrong thing, and also that like humans are flawed and all that. So like it does a good job of tying in a dark gothic tale, just because it really is like humans are terrible people if you let them be. And there's a degree of okay, like it good versus evil, but like what is really evil and what is really good. So I didn't mind that. But I was really shocked that this has really low ratings. It was something like 4.2, even though I think this was Academy Award winning for costume and setting. The movie looks good. Like the setting and the visuals, I liked it. It's a good like beginning Halloween movie throw on.
Yeah, I've heard I haven't seen it yet, but I heard like a lot of the like one of the main complaints was like it's way too slow. Like it's just like
I didn't. I mean, yeah, it's not your typical fast-paced detective movie. I didn't mind it. Like I said, like in okay, this isn't in hell. In hell is very fast and very like everyone's witty and then everyone either is sarcastic and sort of like doubting Johnny Depp and his partner, or Johnny Depp is sort of like too cocky for his own good until like he goes like, oh, I've been mistaken. I'm on the wrong trail. This, uh, the way Christian Bale plays the detective, he's just observing. He has to observe. He has to jot down notes. He has to like revisit things because he doesn't have like technology. He doesn't have assistants. In fact, the military academy there is, contradictive. They're like, oh, we want you to solve this case, but can you do it really fast? And then like, why is it taking you months to do this? And the movie, I think, takes a place over like 2 months,
mhm.
maybe a month. It's a little strange, yes. I will admit it is slow, but it's supposed to be this long observation of this group and then his involvement that, you know, he needs everyone's side so he can tell people, like when he writes his report. Otherwise, I didn't mind it. Again, it's not the most best detective story. I've seen other movies that are similar and has this. I mean, even me just mentioning that there's a twist is a given, but I still say it's worth going in. But I mean, you could be on your phone at some points and you won't really miss a beat, like I was.
Well, is it better than The Raven?
Yes, The Raven to this day, I can remember certain parts, but even then, I still don't remember like the movie's not about you really don't care about the serial killer as the Raven.
Yeah, and it was trying to use like the killers using Edgar Allan Poe stories as like the kills.
Oh, this one doesn't even have that. Like the
No,
Edgar
because
Allan
yeah, because
Poe, yeah, I know.
he's not even he's not even an author. Yeah, he's a cadet at West Point.
But
He hasn't written anything yet.
the thing is, this one is pretty good in the sense that it's not like all the tracks, all the things you see here is like things that help him inspire his work. Like no one's walking around in a mask, no one's walking
Mhm.
around in like a like beating heart, like being
Raven,
like
is there a
hit.
Raven?
There are ravens, but he just like it's in the background. Like it's
Mhm.
not something that he is looking at going, oh, look, I got an idea for a poem based on the raven. Like it makes sense to what breaks his human spirit of just seeing the worst in humanity and also being judged as someone that is different than the typical militant guy in this era. So it's like not quite a character study for Edgar, but it makes sense that he was around to witness this. Like or he was part in this side story that, he sees things that like, he was part of this messed up crime that there are no like, there's no victory in justice. It's sort of just like a thing.
Mhm.
And it's more complicated to even get more involved with. Uh and again, I don't want to spoil it. I still think it's worth it if you have that at the time. I think it's only like an hour and a half, so it's like just a 90-minute movie, but certain points will make it seem like it's longer. And I mean, it's just scenery shots and people walking outside. So if you like edit this down, this would be even shorter. I think they had to fluff it up because they don't want to be a snappy dialogue detective story. Like they really want to show that this retired detective is out of his element. He's supposed to be old. He's supposed to be frail in the sense that he can't like his life has been nothing but drinking and hanging out in the woods.
Mhm.
So for him to like go back in detective mode, it makes sense. Plus, he's not Sherlock Holmes. Like he's not a I guess like a know-it-all that stores all the knowledge. He's someone who's just very observant and goes, well, that's weird. And then he, says, hey, I want to investigate why that's weird. Like I'll say that out loud, and then it makes sense why he ends up doing things. Because I know there's some detective stories that the guy happens to just know a fact, and it's like, wow, that's a really complicated fact. Like, why do you remember that? And he doesn't. He actually has to consult. One of them was like religious things, and Robert Duvall is just in this movie
Mhm.
as Jean Pepe, and he's a religious scholar that studies like symbolisms and religious like overtones and cryptology. But this is
Mhm.
still like freaking 19th century, so it's not like the best. It's just like I happen to have this old ass book. Like wow, that's probably one of 5 made. Why is that here? So it's it's worth watching. Like I don't know. I like Christian Bale drama movies, and this isn't a straight up action movie. It's more of a drama. And then when you do see horror, it's like, oh, thank God. Like let me see like some drama, like you know, minor body horror.
Well, yeah, because I think the movie that Scott Cooper, director, made right before this was Antlers, which was like a really
Bloody movie.
yeah, Guillermo del Toro produced that. That was like a straight up horror movie.
Yeah, this is more restraint. It's not horror, but I was more in the mood for just getting in the horror element season, spooky season. I feel like this is more of a winter movie just because the setting is in the winter. It's isolated. It feels like cold when you watch it.
Hmm.
So it I again I guess like when you watch it and it's gonna be on the fence. I mean I watched it, maybe I was in the right mindset. If the critical review was that like the third act is unravels, it kind of does. It's one of those like if you think about it, it's more complicated, and then but that's like the gimmick of the story. Like maybe some critics didn't understand that's the point. Like
Hmm.
it's all meaningless, and it's like sorrow is like all consuming, so there's no true answer. It's sort of just like you live with these horrible facts. And again, makes sense for Edgar Allan Poe, but he is not the main star. He's just a side character. I mean, he like co-stars, but it really is. It's about this tormented detective who like his life sucks, and his mission. He's just all he has left is detective work. So I don't think you'll see like sequels or anything. It's more of a one and done, and I didn't
Hmm.
mind that. Like I feel like it's gonna be one of those like lost gems, but it happens to be a very good looking lost gem. Yeah, that's about it for me. What about you?
Yeah, so I saw a couple recent TV stuff, actually both superhero stuff. So I saw the season 2 premiere of Loki, which came out last week, and then if you're hearing this, probably I think episode 2 is dropping, 6 episodes a season. But yeah, definitely a fun premiere for Loki. Um, basically picks up right where season 1 left off, where Loki ends up back in TVA, but no one knows who he is, and you kind of get the explanation for that like pretty quickly. Um, and because he's like and it was in the trailer, like he's time slipping, so he's like jumping all around in like the past, the present of the TVA. So he's ending up in like the past, and then that's why people don't know who he is. And then snaps back to the present, and then everyone's like, "Oh, Loki, you're back. Where have you been?" Like, but then the big kind of thing in the first episode is they have to go. They're trying to figure out why Loki's time slip is. So they go see Ouroboros, aka OB, played by Ki Kwan, who's the TVA's like repair kind of engineer. Like he's been there for like thousands of years, and they just like he just gets like endless like broken equipment sent to him, so like these tubes, and he just like is just constantly just fixing them. And like no one ever goes visits him, or like it'll be like hundreds of years before someone like visits him, because like Mobius goes and sees him, and it's like, oh, how long has it been, Mobius? Like 300 years? It's like, yeah, I think so. But he's the one who kind of like is like able to might be able to figure out some way to like stop Loki from like constantly just like getting pulled around different time periods. And it's all like the kind of the TVA kind of like it's all like the weird mix of analog and like futuristic kind of tech where it's like this like bulky but it also like high tech like equipment that they need to use. This a whole convoluted plan that they had to execute in the first episode. But yeah, a lot of fun, lot of fun stuff. There's a really great bit where like Loki ends up in the past talking to OB, but then Owen Wilson, like Mobius, is in the present talking to OB, and it kind of has that like Bill and Ted kind of thing where like Loki's like asking OB stuff, and he's like, "Oh, well, you might need this," and then back in the present, like almost like, "Is there anything we can do to like help him?" He's like, "Oh yeah, wait, I just remembered like something that happened. Like I was talking to someone in the like 300 years ago in the past. I told him to do this."
Do they not remember like people's faces?
Well, it's they do the thing where it's like it's like Loki, like because like Loki's in the past, and but like it's so it's like he's like causing the memories to occur as they're happening in the present. So it's like Loki, like he's talking to Loki in the past, but then like that's causing in the future, like that's like generating new memories for OB to be like, oh yeah, I do. Now I remember. Like I made this thing, or I talked to this guy. But it's like that Bill and Ted. Remember like Bill and Ted when they're like, we should like go back and we should like remember to come back in time and like leave the keys for ourselves here. Like and
Do
then
they actually like show it, or it's more implied?
Well, I mean, so there's like this gadget that they have to use, like almost has to use like to help Loki like stop time slipping. So then in the past, like Loki's like is like, is there a way to help like stop me from time slipping? He's like, oh, I could make this like thing maybe, and then in the present, like when he's talking to Owen Wilson, he's like, oh, here, I made this thing. Because like that guy you were just with, Loki, like came and saw me like years ago, and then I've been holding onto this for you.
Gotcha. So it's sort of like breadcrumbs they'll leave.
Yeah, and yeah, and then just a lot of fun like back and forth of like when Loki jumps in the past or it jumps in like other time periods, and then like everyone's like reacting to it or like. So that's it's like the first episode. And then we're kind of getting I don't think we've really gotten like the meat of the season yet in the first episode. Like they're kind of just like it's like just like resolving that season 1 cliffhanger, and then I think in next couple episodes we'll get like the more of the meat of the season with like what's going on with like Sylvie and Kang and all that stuff. But yeah, definitely one of the best Marvel things this year, though. I mean, it has been a lot of competition, but I mean, it's like this and Guardians Volume 3 are probably the two best Marvel things this year, and it's definitely way better than Secret Invasion or anything else that Quantumania.
I still have not finished Secret Invasion.
You do not have to. It's that's probably
low stakes.
I mean probably the worst Marvel thing, or definitely like bottom tier Marvel things. And it should have been one of the best things. Like that plot line is so good in the comics, and they just totally blew it in the show. But yeah, definitely a return like a good return to form for the MCU shows and just the MCU in general. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. And then over on Prime Video, I've been watching Gen V, which is the Boys spinoff. Which I think is 4 episodes in at this point. They dropped like the first 3 the first week, and then episode 4 was last week. But yeah, it's been great so far. It definitely has that same like Boys feel as far as like ridiculous over the top violence and social commentary and making fun of like superhero tropes, and so it's you can definitely tell like this is the exact like there's no like it's definitely it feels like it's taking place in the same universe as the Boys, and there's references to, like stuff that like it seems like it's taking place after season 3 of the Boys, because they reference things that happened in like that season a little bit. There's Easter eggs and some cameos and stuff, and yeah, and it's taking place at Godalkin University, which is like the Vought-run college for young superheroes, and it's funny because there's basically like there's like two programs at like Godalkin. It's like you can either be in like the crime fighting program or like the like celebrity like like star like path. So anyone who's like is not gonna be like in the seven or like an actual like superhero ends up in like this this performance like celebrity path where it's like you'll be on the boys equivalent of like Dancing with the Stars or something. Or you'll be like a manager for superheroes, but you're not gonna be an actual. You're not gonna be like a superhero.
Wait,
You're not
but
gonna be
some superheroes are just became managers? Like
that.
some wannabe trainees with powers?
Well, there's like a like so there's like Patrick Schwarzenegger is like Golden Boy, like like he's like this kind of like the Human Torch, but he's like the like most like number one student at Godalkin. Like he's like the most popular like guy. Like he's basically like being groomed to be like the next Homelander. But then like he has a girlfriend who Kate, who can like if she touches you, she can like manipulate your mind and like kind of like do like mind control on you. But then she is not gonna like in one of the later episodes. She's like, I don't want to be like I wasn't gonna be like a crime fighter. I was gonna be like Luke's like manager. And then like the main character Marie, who is like an orphan, and then she like gets a scholarship to Godalkin. She like has like blood, like these like her powers like hemokinetic, so she like control blood and turn into like weapons or like manipulate it. But then she gets to Godalkin, and they're like, well, your superpower is not really PR friendly or like like middle America friendly, so you're not going to be in the crime fighting course. You're in like the like performing arts program. So there's it's how in like the main show they always talk about like your like Q rating, you're like Homelander's rating is down because of like what he said, or like Starlight's rating is up because of like what she did.
Right,
So
right.
there's still a lot of like that like Vought is like very aware of like all the students at Godalkin, like and like trying to like find the best ones that are gonna be like the most like photogenic or high, like can earn the most money or be the most popular. And yeah, but yeah, so all the characters are actually like are really interesting and fun to watch on the show. Um, like there's so like yeah, like Marie, and then like Marie's roommate is Emma, who can like she can like shrink her size down, but she has to like puke to do it. um, and then there's like Jordan, who like can like shift genders, and then in like their feminine form, they like fire energy blasts, but in like their male form, they're invulnerable and they're like constantly switching back and forth. So there's like interesting powers that you haven't seen like on the main boys show. It's also interesting it's like I mean on the main show we're obviously fighting like mostly the boys, and like the soups are like the bad guys mostly, but then here it's like the soups are like our main characters and like our protagonists, and they're like trying to like solve like this mystery that's going on at the school. Because there's like evil Vought stuff going on like underneath the school that they're trying to like they like learn about and then are trying to stop. And so just some crazy like we've seen some crazy stuff on the boys, but there's like a lot of crazy stuff. They like you'll see some like crazy visuals. I don't want to spoil any of them, but like there's definitely some crazy stuff that like you see like you're not prepared for on Gen V.
That's cool that they are embracing some of the weird stuff. I just remember in the comic it was actually a little more sexual stuff than the weird.
There's quite a bit of that going on. There's some weird like super sexual stuff going on.
I don't know. There's one panel that is sort of like homoerotic, where it's like the guy characters are peeing on each other.
That nothing like that has happened yet, but yeah, there's been some weird, um, like some stuff with like Emma shrinking down and then getting like doing some stuff, and then someone else gets like maybe like they're like like dick blown up and stuff.
I mean, I get it. It's sort of playing around, and again, that's what made this side spin-off story of Huey in the college, and he's just like, superheroes are gross. Like young, out of control, powered up heroes are gross.
Yeah, and then there's also like the most recent episode they had like there was like a one-off character, but I think he's a character in the comic book, Tech Knight.
Yep.
So he shows up in like most recent episode, and he's a ton of fun. He's played by Derek Wilson from like Future Man and like Preacher.
Mm-hmm.
But he hosts like this like true crime show on like VOT Plus, like the VOT streaming service, and then he shows up to kind of investigate like the main like crime that's happened in the first episode. And then
Let me guess, does he have a sexual problem?
he has a weird proclivity for holes.
Yep.
Any kind of holes. Yeah, so that they definitely play that up in the episode. And he also has like, I don't know if it's his power or he just has like I think his power is like he has like really high like observation skills. Like he can zoom in and be like, oh, I see like a bead of sweat forming on your face, like you're lying to me or whatever. Because he's got like he's a very like good like interrogator. And so then he's like trying to like investigate and trying to get to like the truth of what happened in the first episode. Because there's a huge kind of like end of the first episode event that happens that is kind of like the main thing that everyone's trying to like solve or like deal with for the rest of the season. And then he shows up and everyone's just like, oh shit, Tech Knight's here. He's gonna figure out what's going on.
Because in the comic version, he's already been like, I think he like sexually assaulted someone because he got like he saw like a crater or something. Mm-hmm. He saw something like in an opening and he was just like, uh-oh. And then because of that, his popularity went horribly down. But he has like this like, not to spoil much, but in the comic version, he has a brain tumor and that's why he has what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's messing up with his body, but yeah, he's got like a semi-tragic backstory that sort of explains it. But out of everyone in the whole boys thing, he's just perverted in like the public thing, but like he's not like a terrible person. I mean, depends on the certain parts, but
yeah, well, they definitely play up that he's like a sleazy like TV host and doesn't really give a shit about like he'll frame someone if to solve like whatever crime it is if it'll give him good ratings or like he basically shows up and he's basically just like, well, I'm gonna find a scapegoat for this crime and then I'm just gonna pin it on them and then I don't really care if they did it or not.
That's
like,
different. That is different.
But yeah, tons of fun so far. If you're a fan of the boys, definitely watch Gen V. You'll get the same vibe, same humor, same over top violence, same like crazy situations. So yeah, definitely a great spin-off of the boys, and definitely like a good like stopgap until we get season 4 of the boys at whatever point. But yeah, so that's it for me this week. So we'll wrap things up. Definitely head over to the site. We've got all of our usual news and features, reviews, and all that stuff. And you can also head over and listen to our commentary from last week, which was we watched Three Ninjas Knuckle Up for Chris's birthday, our annual watch a terrible martial arts movie for Chris's birthday. So you can head over and watch that classic, quote unquote, with us. And all the other usual stuff is up there as well. Head over and check all that stuff out. And yeah, so for Chris, I'm Zach, and we will see you next week. For more Everything Action, head to www.everythingaction.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @EVAction, on Facebook by searching for Everything Action, and follow us on Instagram @everything.action. You can also subscribe and get more episodes on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.